my 11th grade class, there was a tornado that came up and the lights went out off, and the kids were being unruly, saying, you know, how can you expect us to work when there's a tornado threatening? And the lights went out and everything. So I said to the class, that would be so rude, I said, one of these days I'm going to be able to literally lead you out of darkness. And at that second the lights came on. And this girl in the back of the room went, I believe! So I have a little audience. I'll have to watch that power. I'll have to find out how I caused it. I'm thrilled to be here, and very honored to be here for the 20th anniversary of the Black Cultural Center, which Tony didn't like us doing this, but we call it the Black House. You know, it's like white people have a White House, and we had a Black House. And the Black Cultural Center was the place where you could get to just be black. Don't explain how come black people do this, don't do this, you know, just hang. And it was a refreshing respite from any of the concerns, because, you know, left to our own devices, we pretty much don't want to be bothered. And so, you know, that was a time for us to kind of go back and recharge. And and looking at leadership, my topic is leadership for the future, which is the kind of topic you give in June when somebody says, what are you going to talk about in September? But leadership really is an inquiry of mine. I mean, it's a hobby. I actually resented having applications where they ask you, what is your hobby, because I never had one. And so I say, you know, organizing projects, that's my hobby. I mean, at school now, they know that when there's a committee or a project, they just kind of look around and say, yours. And I, you know, eagerly say yes. And there is, and it's not because I do it by myself, it's because of a space I hold, and I just take that as a gift. And my inquiry is that it not just be something that is some gene or some gift, but that it actually be available in great numbers. And the thing about the Black Cultural Center is that it is a repository of these models of leadership, people who worked against the odds. Those are that's my mother brought me up on Mary McLeod Bethune and Booker T. Washington and George Washington Carver, who had no agreement in the culture that they should take on what they took on, and they did it anyway. And they did it against the naysayers, and they did it against those, you know, no opportunity, no affirmative action, no scholarships, and, you know, just walking the mile it took and knocking on every door, and finally being influential at levels of government that were unheard of. There's a book called I Dream a World, Portraits of Black Women Who Changed America. And this is a series of 75 portraits done by Brian Lanker. And most of the women in this book are still living. And what's exciting about them, when they came to Georgia, it was a Sunday afternoon, and the particular introduction was called Southern Roots. 60% of the women in the book are from the South, and many of them are from South Carolina. In fact, the woman on the cover of the book is from Charleston, South Carolina, which is my hometown. And on this panel this Sunday afternoon was a university president who was born what we call an illegitimate child in poverty in Florida. She's the president of Lincoln University. And then there was a woman from Soperton, Georgia, who was illiterate. She did not know how to read, but she managed to revamp their community, bring in services, work with the powers that be in that community, and literally transform the services. Unita Blackwell, the first black woman Mississippi mayor. You know, I just love being with these people who step where no man dares to go, and it's probably because it takes a woman to do it. The other thing in terms of leadership and models, that I'm living in an exciting time, an exciting culture. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, the place that everybody said, you got to be crazy if you think the 100th anniversary of the Olympics will be in Atlanta instead of Athens, Georgia. And a man named Billy Payne and Andrew Young, Andrew Young, when he became mayor, said Atlanta was an international city. And, you know, I mean, everybody thought that, you know, you got to be crazy. I just recognize who you are. This is one of my students from Clarkston. Okay. Anyways, it was just exciting that these people took this on and created leaders of other people. You know, it's not that you have some special set of characteristics, but you just say, "Oh, I'm the one." You know, and there's an excitement that happens there, and the Atlanta Olympics, and even one of the things that I want you to, I'm not here tonight with any kind of wisdom. One of my 8th grade students taught me already the advantage of having any wisdom. He came to me one day and asked, he said, well, this is the question every teacher likes to hear. He says, are we doing anything important today? I went, well, of course, every day. So I said, why do you ask? Trying to be a generous teacher. And he says, well, I want to go to the computer lab and finish my project there. I said, instead of literature? So he says, well, what are we doing today? So I thought, surely I could do this. I said, today I am giving the secret of life. And without blinking, he said, so how long is it going to take? So anyway, I know there is no market for wisdom, but 8th graders have taught me that, and I actually don't intend to say I have any. As a person who's been in inquiry around leadership, what I say tonight is for your consideration, for you to kind of say, oh, well, if I thought that way, what might open up for me? You know, if I could see life that way, what might open up? And when we look at a world where we have, in the black community, epidemic teenage pregnancy, 30% of our families in the United States living below poverty, cities in the United States with infant mortality rates worse than those of third world countries, then I think maybe we should give up that we know already what to do and reopen the inquiry and see what we might find when we take it on like a research project, and we take it on the training to handle this, to get this managed by the year 2000. By next year, I wouldn't mind. And there are certain statistics that have become so ingrained. It's like 35,000 people die every day from hunger, 21,000 who are children. That is such a staggering, regular statistic that we don't even wake up when it's said. You know, thousands of young black men are killed in their communities. Babies are now being killed in their beds. And what wakes us up is not that statistic, but a particular and unusual event. One of the things that the Black Cultural Center and Life at Purdue provides concerning leadership is a place for training and development, a workshop, what it really takes when you jump in and say, I'm the one. And I want to address some issues that advance leadership and some things that get in the way. As a writer, I work, over the last 3 years, I've been working with a clinical psychologist who works with families of alcoholics. He works a lot with family therapy, a lot of families recovering from alcoholism and abuse. And there are some things that he shared with me, and also in some other courses that I do, that are very interesting, and probably, I say, widen my compassion for how big the job is not that we don't acknowledge the original sin that keeps us from being together. And that original sin is the one that has us already get that the world is us versus them. That is our original thought That is how we enter life. That is how we interact. And we do it without any intent of malice. And we even have some nice slick projects to dress it up when we have campaigns. I love that Ted Turner has ceased using the word foreign in the reports for CNN. It's international. Foreign already tells you that this is the other weird, out of the ordinary person. So, I mean, without even being malicious, that's there. So what the psychologists tell us is that we already are, without thinking about it, that the other person is the enemy. That's the way the mind works. And what we have is like the thought that we wake up with in the morning, and without a distinction about that thought, then we devise we are working always to watch out. We aren't looking to see the possibility of a breakthrough, of building bridges. We're looking for protective devices. We aren't looking for the kinds of things that will move us forward. And it's at that point, the point at which you need to break the drift of life, that leadership occurs. It's the moment when you say, here I stand. And it's not even a moment that requires any genius, any insight. The failure of leadership that we see most in our world is the failure to start. Leadership does not come out of knowing. When you sit and wait to know, that'll stymie you. You'll never move. And what happens where there is leadership is when people move in, get going, and then get shaped by what's needed, what's workable, what is uncovered as you move from step to step, saying, I don't know. And also inviting the world, inviting others to own the project, creating what's called the kind of story that gets people in action, that gets them ready to buckle down and just sort of take off the gloves and attack the problem. When we tend to need to get to a point of breakdown, as in the family of the recovering alcoholic, when the family says, okay, this is not working, the drinking has stopped, but somehow we are not yet a family, or there could still be drinking, and our life is not going ahead. So, to the extent that the family begins to see the drinking or the alcoholism as a part of what is going on in their lives, instead of the shell for what is going on in their lives, they are able to empower themselves and move forward. And the particular shell I want to address tonight is what we see in this country as racism. And one place that my inquiry has taken me is with the work of a man called Shelby Steele. You may have seen his work, and I'm not saying that this is the answer, but when I read his material, it provoked me in a new direction. Shelby Steele produced a documentary last fall on the murder of Yusef Hawkins in Bensonhurst. And he now has a book out called The Content of Our Character, A New Vision of Race in America. And the question that Shelby Steele poses is a question not unlike the therapists or the psychologists pose when they work with a family. And for our sakes, I'll say it this way. Have African Americans fixed their identities as victims of racism such that they are unable to do the work necessary to achieve their economic development and freedom? Have we become so much the victim of racism that instead of that being a part of the fabric, it's the myth we live by? And it is certainly a disempowering myth. Now, we are going to live by some myth. That's what moves our lives. Some story, some vision the rich thing for me in knowing people from different cultures is to hear the myths that have advanced people at different places. And it's not even two countries. What's the way of life and the way of seeing that people in the South use versus the people in the Midwest versus the people, the New England Puritan hard-working ethic. The Atlanta Olympic team sold the South as a place of generosity and hospitality and openness. That's a myth that the South lives in, and it changes generation after generation. And right now we're even seeing an addressing of the old myth that the South lived in with this PBS series on the Civil War, where we're taking a second look at what actually shapes the way we look. But one of the things that we need to look at for ourselves is that Shelby Steele says, Black Americans are today more oppressed by doubt than by racism. The second phase of our struggle for freedom must be a confrontation with that doubt. And one of the things that as leaders that one of the things that a leader does in a company, the leader is the person that speaks the vision. The manager gets it to go there. You know, that's kind of a distinction that's widely accepted. And management without leadership is, you know, dead end. It's Hitler and the efficient ovens. So what we have is this leader that well, actually even Hitler was an effective leader, but the leader provides a vision that allows people to see themselves newly, not based on the evidence of who they are, because we start out because something's wrong. In fact, we spend a lot of our lives covering up what's wrong, compensating. You know, we'll get smarter and we'll get more degrees and we'll wear more makeup and we'll, you know, do all the kinds of things that make us socially acceptable. And sometimes we will do things that will make us socially unacceptable, so we keep you away before you find out just how messed up I really am. So I'm not going to even let you get that close to me. So we've got all kinds of, human beings are just fascinating. I have approached it in literature, but and my work with a psychologist now, just really I'm just enthralled with, you know, who we are and how wonderful and how many shades and how many levels there are to human being, the resiliency of human being, the creativity of human being, and the reserves that we have that are untapped. And leadership is the place where we actually take a stand for people. We stand that people are the best solutions to their problems, that there is no, and I'm not, that people have it within them, that the God force within us, even in some religious context, is something that's given to us. We don't have to earn that. You know, we don't have to earn that divine right. We came with it. We are children of that heritage. I mean, if you believe that way, that's an empowering myth for me. That I'm already, you know, what James Baldwin says, I've already been paid for. I'm already redeemed. So all I do is I live into the fulfillment of that gift. I don't have to earn it. In fact, I can't earn it. It is mine. It is always a gift. And when we begin to look at people as already having it, instead of, let me see how good you really are. Let me see how many loops, it's like when you're courting, let me see how long you'll last before I really tell you I love you. Instead of starting from I love you. We wait a while. You got to prove something before I can tell you I love you, or before I say you're worthy to be a part of this particular conversation. So leaders create that conversation in the world, and what we do is to create others to be with us in that same situation, in that same project, in taking on I love the series, you notice I look at TV a lot. In Search of Excellence does the vignettes of the companies that were turned around. What people do, what families do is they say, this is not working. We don't care who's right. We don't care whether it's unfair. It's not working. We have a commitment to be here, and we aren't moving. And that's what I say is the danger of leaving racism as our defining force. You know, it's here. Yes, it is here. There are incidents to document, but there is also humongous, that's a great English word, great potential within human beings to create something other than what is. That's what leaders can provide in the community, is that, you know, people always want to tell you, well, yeah, that's a nice idea, but let's deal with reality. What you provide as any one individual person is that reality is yesterday's news already. As soon as it shows up, it's yesterday's news. It's here, it's gone, it's here, it's gone, it's here, it's gone. Then, what you live into, what really energizes, is what you create what you design into, what you move into, and that is the future. And leaders are the ones that say, yeah, this is, but let's put our energy in what could be. Let's set up the structures for what could be. You know, not looking at why, just why not? So, and you begin to bring in another perspective. Anybody that's been in brainstorming groups and working groups, when you break out of the answer, creative thinking, you know, there are a lot of terms and phrases and catchwords for it. But that's essentially what people say, well, how come this is not so? I say this to my students a lot, and I always set up some kind of a project where they impact something like, you know, they write the president, and generally what we work into is they work with writing letters to support the end of hunger. But I always remind them of Samantha Smith, who at 9, what would a 9-year-old do to affect world events? A lot this child did. We suddenly saw the Russian premier as a person, as a grandfather, when he responded to a 9-year-old girl's letter. He was not just a force from the evil empire. He was a grandfather who probably went coochie coochie coo to his grandchildren. And that gave another perspective for our life with Russia. And that's 10, 15 years ago. Last November, I could not wait to get up in the morning because I go, God, what are they going to do today? The Berlin Wall just went down, and this one, you know, Czechoslovakia just was a democracy. What else? You know, then Nelson Mandela's free. I mean, it's like, goodness, this is a world of possibility. This is, you know, move the naysayers. One of the things I have to train myself to do is to be generous with people who are critical or who say it can't be done, because I actually don't want them around me. And what I've done is I've transformed, though, that they can be a coach for me, that they really are also committed, and the person who says no can make a contribution, because there may be something I need to look at and I need to watch. I don't need to completely convert to the no, but the no can be a contribution. And so, and I have to train myself to do that one. That doesn't come as naturally as my wanting to say, oh yes, we can. But the whole idea of leadership and accomplishment, never reasonable. Leadership and accomplishment do not come from reasonableness. Good common sense. Martin Luther King should have stayed at Dexter Avenue Church. He would have had a nice life. He would have been well paid. He would have had on $300 suits, and he'd be here to celebrate his 65th birthday, maybe. He should not have left that church. Rosa Parks should have just done what she should have done, gone to the back of the bus, and not made a big hassle about it. That was, why would you argue over or make a point over where you would sit on the bus? Leadership and accomplishment do not come from reasonableness. Billy Payne and Andrew Young had no idea. All they had was a vision of Atlanta being an Olympic city. And it became a vision large enough to transform other people say, well, I don't have another game. You know, you just can't even look like, well, I don't have another game, let's play this one. Why play the game that says it doesn't work, it can't happen, never will be, people will always be this way, I've been offended, and I'm not going to move until I get, somebody's going to say uncle before I move. And the whole thing, even in the therapeutic sessions, is moving beyond that point of retribution, the one-to-one. Leaders can tolerate 10 in and 1 out. 10 in and 1 out. And there, the one out, the one you want to keep your eye on is the one that you have where you get your leverage. And looking at points of leverage, when you look to see, sometimes the other thing, leaders can become very, very self-righteous because you're the one. I'm the good person. I'm the one who volunteered. I am the one who's staying up here until midnight doing this dirt, doing the work that nobody else wants to do. So the rest of them will just have to just take what I say as right. That is the other danger of leadership, is that you get to a point where you see it as anointment rather than choice. Say that you take it on as a possibility, and that what you then listen for is who can you empower out of being right. That we are going to be right about something. And of course, we're spending a lot of time and a lot of years to get the answers and to be right and to be the expert and to know the structure and to predict the direction. But a valuable question to ask yourself, and one that will give you leverage, is what do I forward by being right? Who gets empowered when I'm right? And sometimes, they're separate questions, because there are times also when empowerment is not what needs. Sometimes you have to dominate, and force, and manipulate, and there are times when that's useful. It is not domination, manipulation, and force aren't exactly where creative effort comes from. But if you need to get the job done up to a certain point. But you want to look to see, even when you use those techniques, what gets forwarded, who grows, what moves when I'm right. And there you actually, you create something even beyond yourself. The thing I notice when I'm working with groups that I monitor is when it's going where I didn't think it would go. And I have to sort of slap myself and say, oh, this isn't what I had in mind. And it's even the excitement of the group gets overwhelming. So it's this ability to check in with yourself is very useful to keep your own barometer going, because it's not just you're not just a pure person.
Thank you all for coming out tonight. My name is Janice Sykes. I'm a senior in the School of Liberal Arts, majoring in telecommunications with a focus in film production. I wrote, directed, cast, and at the last minute I'm going to be in the production you're going to see tonight. It's called Catch a Hoe by the Toe. I'll be playing the role of Bree. Following the play, we'll have a 10-minute intermission in which you're welcome to go upstairs to the formal lounge and have some refreshments, but then quickly come back in about 10 to 15 minutes because Zoom, our live jazz band featuring our own Antonio Zamora, will be performing jazz for you. I'd like to say special thanks to Rory Christian for his assistance in getting this underway, and also to BJ Moffitt, my technical director in the back. I can't see him right now, but he's back there. And also, short announcement, ABS is having a party tomorrow. It's free, Stewart Center, 9 o'clock. We appreciate your support. Free party. Thank you all for coming. Sit back, enjoy the show.
Ooh, Lawana Bree, I am just too broke.
Girl, what?
I went over to Brandon's apartment, and as I was parking my car, guess who I saw coming out of his place? Oh, she came out with this big old Kool-Aid smile on her face. I sure hope she was worth messing up our relationship over. Who? That big butt skeezer hoe from hell. Who? How many big butt skeezer hoes from hell do you know on this campus?
Well, let me
Oh, that skeezer hoe from hell. But what was she doing with Brandon? Well, I mean, I know what she was doing with him. But what I mean is, help me out here.
Look, Audrey, you got to break it down for me. What exactly happened?
Okay. I went over to Brandon's apartment, and as I was about to get out of the car, I saw Celeste coming out of his place. So I ducked down so she wouldn't see me. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of knowing that I knew.
And?
What do you mean, and?
I mean, Brandon lives with 4 other guys. How do you know she wasn't there to see one of them?
I know, okay? A woman knows when her man is cheating on her.
I heard that. If the Buddha ever played on me, I would know.
Right. Look, I know Brandon, all right? I grew up with him. He doesn't have the time, nor is he stupid enough to go messing with Celeste. She's just too outgoing. Outgoing with every man on this field.
I know how close you and Brandon are, but I also know what's up. I saw the way she looked at him at the party last night. They even slow danced. I just know they got busy. I saw her.
Okay, so because you saw her, that's an indicator to you that she got busy with Brandon, even though 4 other guys live with him, including your boyfriend.
Oh, so what are you trying to say?
I ain't trying to say nothing. I think it's perfectly clear. Celeste could have been there to see anybody, including Buddha. So before you go make your accusations, you better get that boy a chance to explain what's up.
Okay. You want to go call that little punk. And he better have a damn good explanation, too.
So Brandon is banging Celeste.
I'm glad to see the information gives you such pleasure.
Oh, don't get me wrong, Bree. Audrey has my deepest sympathy. It's just good to know that Brandon isn't the Adonis she makes him out to be. He's a hoe, just like every other man on this team.
All right?
God, you
for such a trip. How can you sit there and get pleasure from what one of your best friends is going through? You're such an evil little brat.
Oh, girl, get a grip. It's not that serious. She'll get over it. You see, men are like trains. But when you finish riding one, you can always catch another.
You can quote that boy now. But if it was Buddha who was banging Celeste, you wouldn't be so impudent, little brat. Oh, impudent.
Audrey, what did he say? He said what any other punk would say. Wasn't me. He said he couldn't tell me what was going on because he would be getting one of his boys in trouble and I would just have to understand. Then he went on with that, don't you trust me, bull, and said that I'm the only girl he needs. Ain't that the biggest crock of bull you ever heard?
Yep, girl, I ain't never trusted him anyway. You can see the sea all in his eyes.
Excuse me, can I get a little sympathy here?
You don't need sympathy. What you need is a plan of action.
Luana, you know how your little schemes turn out. The last time you had a big bright idea, we ended up at the police station, remember that? Trying to explain what we were doing climbing through Pete's bedroom window.
Oh, girl, we wouldn't have gotten busted if you had tripped the alarm.
Okay, blame me.
I just wanted to see if there was any evidence to prove that he was playing on me.
And there was.
That's old news. This time, we'll do it right. They don't have an alarm. So all we have to do is wait until Celeste goes over there again, and we'll sneak up on her and Brandon and bust them doing the do.
I don't know. I mean, I'm pissed and all that, but I don't want to make it worse by spying on him. Besides, I don't have any real proof that he's cheating on me. That's right.
Girl, this is your chance to get some proof.
Look, I don't think you need to go over there snooping around Brandon's place, all right? Don't let Luana get you all fired up to go and do something stupid. I don't understand you, Luana. You aren't happy unless somebody else is miserable. That's why Brandon don't like you now.
I don't care if he doesn't like me. I don't like that jackass either.
Oh, so just because you two don't get along, that means he got busy with Celeste.
He's a man, ain't he?
Of course he's a man, so what's your point?
My point is, if she flung it, he flipped it.
Oh.
Men on this campus, baby, are a bunch of sex-starved, promiscuous, misleading, cheating, taking, faking, no money-making punks.
Oh, really? Ain't that a man you wrap yourself around all the time? Does he fit into the same category, or is he special?
I know how to control Buddha. I give him all the loving he needs, so he doesn't need to go elsewhere.
Oh, really? Let me get this straight. So because you give it up at his will, he's under your control. Sounds to me like you the one being controlled, but you just too whipped to know it. He's got you whipped and obedient. I'm so sick of women running around this campus male bashing. It's time for us to start appreciating our black men.
All right, you go.
Sit around and complain about the things that they aren't doing.
Yeah.
Do we ever compliment the things that they are doing?
Yeah.
We can't penalize all black men just because there are a few bad seeds out there.
Well.
We are surrounded by intelligent, hardworking men on this campus. Men who have never seen the inside of a jail cell, or God forbid, the rear of another man. I think it's time we start appreciating the good ones out there before they start looking for a cracker. I get it. They get right.
What's wrong with you, girl? Scorn.
What do you mean, what's wrong with me?
Why did you hang up on me when I was trying to explain to you? You don't get enough for hanging up on me.
So now you're gonna threaten her too. Playing on it wasn't enough for you, was it? Why don't you just get out?
Why don't you just shut up and make this Saturday special? Mind your own business. You're in for a big surprise if you keep messing with me. Why don't you just leave?
Hello? But I do believe that this edifice contains my apartment, not yours. So you've got to go.
Learn the word, man. You know.
Hey, don't text me, boy. I'll put some black magic
don't you just shut up and mind your own business?
Why don't you just shut up?
Would you both please shut up?
Audrey, can I talk to you in private for a minute?
Hey, look, Audrey, we were going over to Dana's anyway, all right?
Oh, we were?
We were. Why don't you come over there later and we'll go shopping or something? I think I need some shoes or something.
Oh, I'll be over there real soon. This won't take long at all.
Audrey wasn't like you thought. Celeste wasn't there to see me.
Oh, really? Then why don't you tell me who she was there to see?
If I was to tell you what was really up, I'd be getting one of my boys in trouble. You don't want me to do that now, would you?
Yes, I do.
It's all so complicated, you just wouldn't understand.
Oh, so it's a male thing I wouldn't understand, huh? Will you understand this? I'm not having it. I made a vow to myself that I would not let a man make a fool out of me. And as much as I care for you, I'll be damned if I'm going to contradict myself for you or anyone else. And I was just beginning to let myself love you. I thought you were about more than sex, but I guess she got to you too, huh?
Oh, you don't understand why you just don't believe me. Have I ever given you any cause to doubt how much I care for you? See, I know we haven't been together long, but I was just beginning to fall in love with you. I know we can have something really special, but you just believe me. I can't tell you everything, but I can tell you that I did not sleep with Celeste. See, I don't even know what else to do. I don't know what else to say. But I can tell you that you're the only one I want. You're the only one I need. There you go. Or you're the only one I love. Yeah.
Well, was that supposed to be deep? Emotional commitment that you have for me? Because if it is, you're going to have to do better than that. You better move mountains, walk on water, shoot fire out of your ass or something. That ain't gonna happen.
Fine. I'm not going to sit here and break my neck trying to get you to believe me. If you want to believe LaWanda, you go ahead and do that. But when you find out you was wrong about me and find yourself alone and hurt, I hope that LaWanda's there to hold your hand, because I won't be.
Oh, what's up, man? You going to that party tonight?
Yeah, I guess so.
Man, you're not still thinking about that incident with Audrey, are you? It's been 4 hours, man.
It wouldn't even be an incident if I didn't have to watch your back all the time.
Man, don't let that babe get you down. It's a whole lot of honey out there to get with.
That's the problem. I didn't just want to get with Audrey. I really care about her. But no. Thanks for your need to copulate all the time. I haven't even had a chance to get closer to her. Why do you try to get with anything that jingles anyway? You already have a girlfriend, man. Ain't she enough? You really do need to come back.
Man, since when did you become so moralistic?
It ain't all about morals, man. It's about safety and discretion. The more babes you get with, the more people know your business. The more freaks you flip, the more danger it is for you.
I'm not a jackass, man. I do use protection.
Well, if you use condoms, I'm sure that you know they are not 100% effective against the AIDS virus.
Oh, come on, man. You sound like a damn commercial. Just I do, Dr. Ruth. Should I go completely without celibacy or with celibacy?
Maybe try celibacy, my man.
Man, you just saying that mess because you haven't gotten with Audrey yet. Celibacy.
Seriously, though, it may do you some good to cut back on the babes a little bit. After a while, none of the babes want to get with you. Everybody know your business.
Well,
It could just be old meat.
Let me tell you, brother, there'll always be freaks to freak, okay? You just got to know how to handle women. See, if you was just to follow my rules on women, you couldn't go wrong.
What rules?
Rules? Brother, let me break it down to you. Rule number 1, you got to let the female think she's in control. Simple. Rule number 2, women, they always wrong. But see, it's our job to let them think they're right. See? Rule number 3, females, they have the right to change their mind. But brother, chances are their new idea is just as stupid as the old. So don't even sweat it. Rule number 4, if a babe gets upset, fake like you concerned. Rule number 5, if a babe continues to cop a tube, be like, peace, baby. You know, out of there. Rule number 6, if a woman has PMS, talk to her friend that week.
Wait.
My dear brother, always remember that friends are forever. Women, they only good to the end of the month. Well, maybe I will let a few of the babies go. I'm tired of juggling them around anyway. But I tell you what, I'm not giving up all the juice. Give them a little pen help. Get some numbers going. Hello, Heather, it's me. Look, I'm going to need some time to myself right now, so we're just going to have to stop seeing each other. Hello, Carmen, it's me. Look, I'm going to need some time to myself right now. We're just going to have to stop seeing each other, okay? Bye. See, I ain't need that baby no more. She was dead meat. Hello, Peaches, it's me. Look, I'm going to need some time to myself right now, so we're just going to have to stop seeing each other, okay? Bye. See, ain't nothing but a thing, chicken wing. Hello? Hey, is your roommate there? Could you leave her a message for me? Great. First of all, what's her name again? Oh yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, the message is this. I need some time to myself right now. We're gonna have to stop seeing each other. You got it? Okay, bye. I love you too, my brother. It's easy. Thank God for answering machines.
You ain't no good, man. Just ain't no good.
I can't help it, man. When the honeys come around, I feel like a busy bee. But check out. I'm going to pick up the fellas from the courts. This here. And I'll be right back, okay?
All right. Hello? Hey, Bree, how you doing? Is Audrey there? You wouldn't be lying to me, would you? I know you're not lying to me. I'm just joking. I'm sorry. No, I can't tell you about it either. It's all so complicated, you know. You know you're my girl and all, but you know how it is.
Complicated. Shut up.
Hey, you going to the party? Yeah. Is Audrey going? Maybe I can talk to you at the party. No, tell the Wanda that Buddha and the guys are at the courts. Well, you know. Wait, hold on. That's the other line. Let me get that. No, I'll see you at the party, okay? All right. Hello? Oh, hi, Celeste.
Yo, Hambone, brother.
No, he's not here.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. I hear him in the back.
You know, we just...
Hey!
Huh?
Celeste is on the phone. What should I tell her?
Tell her to come over before the party. So I can smack it up, flip it, rub it.
professional help. Professional help. Thank you.
Hello. Get your big butt out of my face. Shut up. Look. I bet they just took a shower together. Ooh.
I don't believe this. How can he do that to me? I didn't look in the face and lie to me like that.
I told you he wasn't no good girl, just a little punk with a 4-piece.
Oh, shut up. Audrey, I'm so sorry. I didn't think he would do something stupid.
I did.
Oh, what am I going to do?
You gonna go in there and get her? What?
Little tramp. What? Who are you? And who you get on calling me a tramp?
I knew he wasn't no good girl. I knew he was banging this little slut.
Slut. And who are you, Miss Thing? And what do you do calling me a slut?
That's the title given to girls who sleep around.
Sleep around? First of all, I don't know who you are. And second of all, I'll be damned if I stand here and let a bunch of babbling babes get up in my face and call me out my name. My name is Celeste. And if you can't call me by the proper manner, you better shut the hell up talking to me. What? You better get away from me. You better get away from me. There's been a little misunderstanding. I'm not here to see your baby friend. I'm here to see Maxwell.
Me, Miss Stang, let's get that straight right now.
Hey, baby.
Maxwell, Dante Jackson, what is going on?
Now, baby, I know this all looks very fishy to you, but, see, it's not like it looks here. She means nothing to me. You know, she means nothing to me.
What?
Baby, I can explain, see. She just wouldn't take no for an answer. You know, she came over here while I was in the shower and just got in with me. You know, I tried to fight the girl off, I really did. And as a matter of fact, I don't even know how she got in here. You know, I don't even know who she is. Are you?
You sure knew me 10 minutes ago. We really got acquainted. But you know what? Don't even sweat it. Deny you know me. Because you wasn't that good anyway.
I swear to you, I don't even know Celeste's name. I mean, baby, can't you understand where a brother's coming from?
Are we doing the jazz first, or what are we doing?
Oh, we're running another show.
Running another show
All
now?
right. Mr. T. Do a free dinner though? And we're gonna
Their refreshments upstairs, like now.
Shut up, Angel. Don't even say it. Oh, you're just so shy.
Okay, I mean, you was just like, I want to go ahead one, but I want to get you out of, I didn't want to get you out of character. I said, no, let me be quiet. Okay, that's what I said. I said, no. All right, the girl. Come in, man.
Dude, just hold it. Yeah. Because he covered Dick Gregory.